Today we're going to look at sculpt mode and edit mode. These can both be accessed from the top left. You'll notice when you click on an object, you can only edit or sculpt the thing that you've clicked on. To edit everything at once, select both objects that you'd like to edit and press Command J. This joins them all together. This can be useful if you'd like to sculpt or edit one specific thing, such as a tree over here. This is not helpful to join all your objects if you want to animate them later using the animation keyframes that I taught you last week, because as you notice, everything moves as one thing. So the first thing we're going to look at is sculpt mode. When you're in sculpt mode, you'll notice that you can only start off by editing the vertices. Specifically looking at the square, you're only able to move the corners. If you'd like to edit more than that, up the top here on the right, we have Din Topo. Now you can edit much more than just the corners. Some of you will notice that when you start, it's set automatically on Symmetry X. This is under Sculpt. What this does is it creates a symmetry along the X-axis. This could be useful for creating faces or birds' wings or anything that requires some sort of symmetry like eyes. However, most of the time we don't want that on, so you might want to turn it off. The second thing you'll notice apart from the brushes is you can adjust the radius, so how big an area your brush is affecting. You can also adjust the strength, so how strong it's affecting that area. First thing I want you to do is go ahead and join a cylinder to a sphere like that, and have a go seeing if you can turn that into a tree. Let's do it together. So I've selected Din Topo. I'm going to bring down my radius, and I'm just going to see what kind of tree I can make from this. I had shaped a little bit of my leaves, but you'll notice here that it's kind of sticking out more than what I'd like. You can also use the subtract tool to change which direction your brush is going in. Okay, so by now you would have finished your tree. Hopefully it looks somewhat better than mine, but you know, whatever floats your boat. Now we're going to have a look at edit mode. The first thing we want to do is click up here and go into edit mode. You'll notice in edit mode there's three things at the top. This selects the points, this selects the edges, and this selects the faces. These can all be edited in the same way as when you were editing things in object mode. So for example, you can use GX to move it along here. You can use GY to move it along this axis, and GZ to move it up. You can also do things like scale and rotate. Now we're going to do an activity where we edit an object to turn it into something that looks something a little bit like a tree. I started with a cube and I've scaled it a little bit. I'm going to go into edit mode and I'm going to use the knife tool. You'll notice it's up here, but you can also click K. So to start, we'll draw some lines across and click enter. That creates a cut on your object. Now I'm going to go back into the select tool and using the face tool, I'm going to press E to extrude it upwards and G to move it a little. Let's do it again. E, extrude upwards, G to move it a little. Now I'm going to use the knife again to make some roots down the bottom. Okay, so it's not looking heaps like a tree, and I bet you're wondering why I did that. Well, if we go into object mode and we go into this thing called modifiers, you can use subdivision surface to turn whatever you've modeled into a more organic-like shape. Now that you get the idea, going back into edit mode, you can say, okay, I think I'd like that to be like a tiny bit smaller because that looked a little weird. I'm going to go up to the point here, move that a little bit in, move that a little bit in, scale these down. Go back into object mode, add my subdivision surface, and yeah, we're looking a little bit more tree-like. So that's the difference between the two modes. I want you to go ahead and try and start on your project. If you're doing the plant one, I'd like you to do a tree. If you're doing the robot one, I'd like you to start doing the robots. Now just a quick explanation about the difference between sculpting and editing that will become relevant later. There's a thing called shape keys, and shape keys only work in edit mode and not sculpt mode. So we start off with a basis, and if we go into edit mode under the second key, we could scale it like this, extrude it like that, do whatever we like to the shape. Go back into object mode, and I'm pressing I, and basically I'm locking in the shapes like this. So edit mode is really useful because you can use shape keys to animate. So that might be an added reason why you might want to try and work in edit mode rather than sculpt mode, even though I know sculpt mode feels a lot easier.